said that last week that you're seeing tons of progress from Justin. We obviously saw it on the field on Sunday. What did you see in the film and how he took the next step? Tons of progress. If I said that, I don't like using like those adjectives that are like extreme. I'm just not that type of person. So, but no, there's been progress, right? And we're sticking to the plan. I thought he did a really nice job in that game in the sense of like he kept his composure, right? They got off to a big lead. He kept the team together. He did a really good job of hunting completions for us. And then, he had 3 or 4 unbelievable escapes that like were just ridiculous. So, I thought he did a pretty good job. Again, we're getting a little bit better each week, and that's truly that's our purpose. That's our goal.
He said that this is probably the most comfortable that he has felt at the NFL level in a Bears uniform, and part of why he said that was because he's realizing that he doesn't have to speed everything up to catch up with the, quote, speed of the NFL. How big of a deal is that in terms of a revelation for him mentally?
Yeah, that's the experience part of it that is hard for everybody to have patience with, and like it's cool that he's seeing that or saying that, but like where hopefully what he sees and how he views everything 10 games from now, hopefully he can even say that more dramatically. But that's part of playing this position. Like you can't say or feel those things unless you experience it in the games, and he's got more. He's got a few more reps under his belt now, and so I think he's starting to play within his style and his ways, and he's finding his own way and within our system and helping his teammates around him and all that good stuff. So I think that's just there's a lot that goes into playing the position, right? And so each week, he's been able to take on more and feel more and understand more and know whys and all that stuff. So I think it just kind of all plays into each other.
Coach, when you got here, you had no real way of knowing whether or not Justin Fields could be the quarterback that could lead your offense to a Super Bowl. I mean, you probably like some of his tools and whatnot, but now that you've been around him, are you more certain about that now? And was this past game a step even towards believing even more in that?
I truly don't think about that. I really don't. I mean, my focus is on helping him and these other guys get better each week. That's where my focus is, and hopefully that it's not just him, but everybody else on this offense feels like they're getting a little bit better each week.
Luke, I'm curious, how much latitude do you give him to audible at the line of scrimmage? I know there's not a lot of time, but like when he comes, is there been a little bit more each week as it goes on, or is it about the same? Or
I mean, we have a plan each week. And he's been doing a really good job of handling that plan. And so, that was a question that people would ask all the time in my previous situation, right? That was always like a big deal. And when you had someone that's in the league that long, like you gave him, like he called the 2 minutes and he handled a lot of stuff. We're not going there yet. I mean, that's down the road. But no, we have a plan and there's a lot on his plate. And so he does a great job handling it. It's not like we just call and run a play and then that's it.
First series, Justin and Darnell kind of crossed wires on that play in the end zone.
The one that they missed. Yeah. Back left corner.
What were the coaching points for each of the guys on that play, and what was notable about the 39-yard completion that you had later in the game between those two?
Just that there's more room. There was, when you get moved down tighter when you get down tighter in the red zone, you can't take as steep of an angle, and then Justin, maybe just missed it a hair wide, but when we were the second time we ran it, you had more room where we were in our own side of the field. So Mooney had all that extra room to keep his route more vertical.
What did you learn about Justin in the 2-minute drive at the end? Obviously, I would like to see what came of it, but what did you see in those plays before the fumble?
No, honestly, the biggest takeaway from that is the reaction after the fumble, right? We have a breakdown in the protection. There's miscommunication, and we leave a free runner. And, he ends up fumbling the ball, and we recovered it, and he got back up, and then there was more pressure, and he found a check down, and it went for whatever that was, 20 yards or whatever. So, to me, that's a really cool, moment for a quarterback that can compose himself after that, and then make a really nice play like that.
Did you guys go into this game with more of a conscious effort to throw the ball downfield more? Was that part of the game plan?
No, I mean, again, I think each week you look at an opponent, right? And you look at them and you say, okay, where are their weaknesses and what have they had issues with? How can we exploit those? And then the second part is like, where are their strengths and how can we avoid that, right? And so throwing the ball deep necessarily against those guys isn't something you want to do a lot of because of those freaks they have up front. But we knew we had to do that in order to get explosive plays. And so, yes, it was a part of – I don't want to say it was more of a part of our plan, but it was definitely something we knew we had to do.
Where's your comfort level in Kiel, considering the lot of time that he had been sidelined?
Yeah, no, he's still got a ways to go as far as like being ready to rock and roll, but mentally, like that, he's been locked in. He's been in the meetings and stuff, so he, mentally, he's a really sharp guy.
This will be Justin's first Thursday game that he's playing in. Without the amount of practice time you guys usually get, what are the biggest challenges for him to prepare for the Washington team?
I think it's what you just said. That's the hardest for anybody, right? It's the hardest for me in the sense of getting the messages across to the guys and delivering the game plan. We're doing double time today, where you don't usually have to do as much as we had to do today, and so they got to be extra locked in. That's been the message. So for him, it's the same. It's you got to really grind it out here, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and then really let the game plan kind of settle in your mind Wednesday night.
What have Halas at in terms of getting his role expanding? I think you said last week that it's going to be a gradual thing, but where are you in terms of using him more, Halas?
Velas has he has a pretty good role for us, and each week we'll find ways to where he can help us exploit a defense, just like we do all the guys on our side of the ball, not just him.
Luke, what did you see from Justin in terms of sensing the pressure and just being able to stay in there and navigate it a little bit instead of taking off?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like where we want it to be, and it's not good enough yet. But I think they're showing signs of growth there, and I think they're showing signs of being willing to sit in there and go through progressions and stuff. So he'll keep getting more comfortable. Every rep he takes, it'll feel a little bit better for him each and every week.
Matt's talked about being in the quarterback room, and is like for a defensive head coach to be in with the quarterbacks. Is that something that you expect to see often in the NFL? Sometimes it kind of feels like people work in silos, offense and defense. And what does that do for a young quarterback at this point of his development?
I don't know if it's normal or not, but it's something that Matt and I viewed as really important. One for I think head coach being on the same page and having a great relationship with the quarterback is critical. And the second part is his perspective for all of us, not just the quarterback, but for me. Throwing things at Flus all the time and saying this is how we're attacking them, and saying maybe he has a cool suggestion to help make it a little bit better. So it's a really cool dynamic.
Luke, week to week, how do you build on progress when you're facing a different team? Like, the Commanders might be taking away things that the Vikings were giving you. So how much of the progress you made is kind of universal?
Yeah, no, that's like our league, right? That's what we do, and so that's part of it, right? I think you don't just go out and say you're going to throw it 50 times. You don't just say you're going to go out and run it 50 times every single week. That's not real in this league. Everyone's too good. Coaches are too good. Players are too good. And so the progress is putting a plan together and guys being able to execute that plan. And if we can do that, that execution a little bit better each week, which it has. We had a game, New York, we had a bunch of mental errors, and so that wasn't good. And this week was way better across the board. So we just got to make sure we keep, getting better at all that stuff, that execution.
Going back to that responsibility you place on Justin, is autonomy or more of that autonomy kind of the goal with him to get him comfortable enough that he can execute those 2-minute drills, that he can kind of do that on his own?
Yeah, I mean, we practiced stuff like that more than anywhere I've ever been, and so just giving him those experiences in practice is helpful. But there's nothing like the game and the moment and playing in that loud stadium, that type of environment, a division game, all that stuff. So all that stuff is just huge for him to keep experiencing as we grow together. That's right.
Now saying it's not just the players that are more comfortable, but the coaches are getting more comfortable game by game too. How is that manifested for you? What does that look like week to week? Your comfort?
Yeah, I think it's the communication process during the week. Probably as much as anything, guys on the offensive staff feeling a little bit more comfortable with me and kind of seeing what my perspective is. And so those meetings have gotten sharper. And then on the field, really the communication has been great all year. So I've been really, really, really lucky to have those guys on my side. Simo, and Tyke and all those guys, D-Walk, and all those guys are just been really good for me. And like I said all along, man, we do this thing together. So we put a plan together. We all have our parts, and then we it's about getting our guys to execute it.
Now, what was going on in the first half of that game, early on in the game, that it seemed like nothing could be stopped?
Yeah, execution. You know what? We just looked at some plays from that ball game, which we usually do the night after, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't overreact and took a good, long, hard look at that ball game, and still execution. They did make some plays, but I still would like to think it's more about us than it is about them. It's still about owning your gap. It's still about reading your keys. It's still about tackling. It's still about doing those type of things more so than it is about them. And you know what? As a coordinator, I have to take some ownership of that too. That I have to call a better first half to help the guys out. I do believe it's player and coach, coach and player. So it's both.
What was the biggest adjustment that you guys made after that, after the three?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
It's funny. I wish I could take you in there and show you the film, and that we just I'd like to be more entertaining for you, but it's still execution, running our stunts better, tackling better, forcing the football better. One of the things we said, we needed to set edges and stay alive on the backside, and we did that. And it's football is not rocket science. It's still about owning your gaps. It's still about blocking. It's still about tackling. We'd like to say it's doing the ordinary things better than anyone else. And so it was still the ordinary things. I'd like to say I'm a genius and I came up with something great the second half, but I didn't.
Did you adjust at all, though? Morrow said there were some adjustments. They were playing, it was pitch and catch between the quarterback and Jefferson in the first quarter, 7 catches, 75 yards. Was there a minor tweak?
Yeah, we played a little bit more too high defense, and but we did some of the, we took a look at some of the same plays, first 3 drives, and then the last couple of drives before the half, and then coming out of halftime, and some of the same plays just executed a little bit better. So there were some adjustments, a little bit more of one thing than another, but not any big scheme type of things.
When you say execution, what's a good example of how a play could have been better executed to negate it? Because it just seemed like Brad was saying, pitch and catch. It just seemed like he was throwing open receivers and pretty simple. So how can you execute better? Yeah. What's a good example of a play where better execution would have been?
Yeah, well, one of the things we said with the receiver, we wanted to make sure that we put our hands on him whenever we could, and then underneath guys identify where he was and drop, so that when there weren't big open windows. We wanted to make sure, one of the things we say, hey, slow till you know if it's zone coverage. So that means the backers aren't at the line of scrimmage. They're waiting to see if it's run or play action. And if it's play action, they're dropping deeper underneath. So their eyes are correct. Corners, we want to make sure that they're getting hands on the receiver, and so they stay connected if it's an over route. So they're just execution type of things that the second half they ran the same play and we were more connected, had deeper drops, and it turned out to be a 2-yard gain. He checked it down to the tight end, and we tackled him for, I think, maybe 4 or 5 yards rather than 13 or 14 yards.
You talked about taking some accountability for yourself. What are some of the calls that you want back?
You know what? Every ball game there are a lot of calls. I talked to the guys today, and when we finish with a ball game and we may not have played the best we can, as a coach, my job is to make sure that I help the players. That's number one, that I can help the guys. And then so if there's a play that's not successful, I go, how can I help the guys be more successful? So with that, I probably should have called a little bit of too high a little earlier. help the guys out before they scored. We got down, so that's where I think, hey, Alan, help the guys out. Hey, like I said before, our guys are super positive on the bench. They look at me and they go, Coach, just tell us what to do, tell us how to do it, when to do it, what to do, and our guys are fantastic about doing that. So if you have players that do what you ask them to do, ultimately the burden is on my shoulders, not the guys.
Yesterday's injury report indicated that Jalen Johnson was able to fully participate. To get him back on a short week, what would that mean for your defense?
Short week, long week, anytime we get him back, that's a good thing. So, no, we're glad to have him back. The great thing about him is that he's been attentive in all the meetings and participating and helping the young guys out. So that's another able body, another veteran body, another really good player that helps us out, and it's another guy that's been in the battles and communicates on the field to help the other guys out. So, I can't overstate whatever that is, how much it means to the defense to have them ready to go.
Jackson talked about slow starts as an energy and a mentality they need to come out with from the get-go. Is that something you can coach into these players, or is that on the players to take that onus to get off to those fast starts?
Me. And it's me. And it's my job to get them ready to go early on. So it's completely on me. And I think the better that we play, the more confidence that they'll have starting off the second half. We are, I like to look at the positive parts of it, that the second half that we're playing lights out football. And so we just want to make sure that we can move that second half into the first half, first quarter, second drive, second quarter. And so we'll look at see what we did the second half and the energy that we bring, the tackling, the turnovers, all those things. Make sure that we want those things to show up in the first half.
Final touchdown drive.
Last year in the same room as Wentz, or in the same building as Wentz. Mm-hmm. What does your knowledge of his strengths and weaknesses mean on a week like this? How does it help you?
I don't think so. You know what? I really don't. Different coaches, I would like to think that different coaches help players out. So, maybe if he had some weaknesses that the coaches would know those weaknesses on there in Washington and help him with some of those things and a little bit different offense. So I don't pay a whole bunch of attention into, hey, Alan, you were with him for 1 year and you know all his strengths and weaknesses. We faced him in OTAs and that type of thing, and then our focus was on, the other team, not necessarily our quarterback. So we just have to approach it based on what we see on tape, what we see on film, what we see him doing and not doing, and then attack him from that perspective.
Alan, a lot of head coaches choose to call plays, but obviously Matt Eberflus does not call the defense. When you came on staff here, what was the decision like between you and Coach Eberflus about you doing that and him taking on more, I guess, of the CEO role as a head coach?
You know what? I'm not sure if there was a long dialogue about that. I remember that when he was in a press conference, they asked him about that, and we had a conversation after that. He said, hey, Alan, I want you to call it. I want you to put your stamp on it. I want you to do it. I want the guys to look at you, not to me, for confirmation for any of those things. And he said, go with it. And ever since we had that conversation, I appreciated that. He comes in. It would be crazy of me not to use his expertise because he has a wealth of knowledge from a coordinator, actually a experienced coordinator and a successful coordinator. So it would be crazy for me not to use his expertise, which we do. So even though I call it, I still would think it's a collaborative effort in terms of the things that we do. I still rely on Coach Eberflus a ton in terms of asking him, hey, how do you see this? What would you do here? How do you like this pressure? How do you like this coverage? What do you think? I'm always open to good information.
Well, on that last touchdown drive for the Vikings, what went into your inability to get off the field? Obviously, they converted some third downs, but what were the reasons why that drive continued?
Yeah, you mentioned it. We have to get off the field better on third down. Have to execute a little bit better when there are plays to be made. We have to make them. Good defenses will turn the ball over. Good defenses will come up with a sack. Good defenses will come up with a tackle, and we just have to find ways to end the ball game and not have to put the offense back on the field. You know, I told the guys today again, we're the Chicago Bears. We need to end ball games. That's what great defenses do. And so that's what we're working for, and that's what we're working towards, and ultimately that's what we have to do.
How nice was it to get Cairo back after a week?
Yeah, it was outstanding to have him back. Obviously, for him to kick his first kick be from 50 yards, huge kick, anything over 50 is definitely not a gimme. So for him to come out and strike the ball the way he did, and then the 43-yarder and then another 51-yarder to put us up there to take the lead was really outstanding by him. Great to have him back. Whole team happy to see him, and just glad he's back and he's rolling and doing good. So.
How did it all go down with the onside kick, the decision to do it, and when you guys decided to do it?
Yeah, so we decided that earlier in the week that we were going to do it. Love the look, still love the look. Would have loved to get the ball. It's a game of inches, just right, just probably an inch away from getting it. So we still love the call and love coach's aggressiveness there, and just happened on Tuesday. So I like that he was locked and loaded and ready to go. I like that out of our head coach.
How was the execution across the board on the blocked field goal? It looked like you had multiple chances that it could have blocked it, even besides Robinson.
Yeah, the execution was really done really nicely. The guys did a good job of getting underneath the guys' pads all day, and we had something special in there for Dom, and Dom did a great job executing it. Collar had great pressure off the edge. Matt did a good job pushing guys back, and Big Angelo and Justin, they do a great job all the time there. So that was a huge play for us. To swing the momentum right there is an outstanding play again. Cairo made both of his 50-yarders. We blocked one of theirs, and the kid missed the other one because of what you mentioned, some good pressure. So those were some good plays in the game that we feel good about, and hopefully that continues.
Is there a point where you guys would start letting Halas take some of those balls out of the end zone, or is that his decision, his discretion on those kicks?
Yeah, so when it comes down to those kicks, you just got to do what's best for the football team. So there's something called like hang the distance ratio. So it's something that we factor out, it's calculated. And it's a certain point when you have a ball that's, I mean, I'm not going to give the numbers away, but a certain ball that's really high, and your chances of returning it aren't as favorable as a lower hang time. And it's just a feel, too. Like if the guys are down there already or covering, or guys aren't engaged and guys aren't down there as fast. So he has some discretion on that. I mean, it's not an iron fist or anything like that. We want him to play fast and play free. I thought he made great decisions last week. And the ball he caught, the short one, he came up and got it to the 33-yard line or something like that. I mean, that was really good starting field position there.
Coach Josh Blackwell almost made another great play, pinning them down deep. Obviously, that's a tough ball to track, but what is the coaching plan for him to be able to finish that play?
Yeah, so in that play, that was what we call a 60-40 ball. So he hit the ball from the 40-yard line. So we're shooting the ball. Everybody calls it a 60-40 ball, but we're aggressive there. All right, so you making the returner make a decision. So either he's going to make a bad decision and field it inside the 10. If we hit it 60 yards and it checks up, to 59, 58, then you got an all-net ball there if the returner doesn't return it. And really, on a plus 50 kick, it's easier to field that ball because we know we're end over end. He's looking for it. That one, he's got to play the returner first, and then the ball bounced, and then he's got to get it and try to get it out of bounds. He just got to throw it, try to tap it or throw it out of bounds. there. He almost made a phenomenal play. But we're okay if the ball goes in the end zone because it's a 40-yard all net. So we're going to take those chances on the 60. That's what we call it, a 60-40 ball.
How impressive has Trent Gill then been for you to have the confidence in him to hit that ball where you wanted at the 58, 59?
Yeah, I tell you what, Trent Gill has been really impressive. I mean, we still got a long way to go. It's early in the season. Those young kids, Blackwell, has been impressive. Some of those young kids have been playing really well for us, contributing, and they're taking their role serious. And we need them to progress. We need them to get better than they are right now, but they're doing a nice job. And Trent, like you said, he's doing a good job right now. So we just got to keep him going.